Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. A warm welcome from the KSA and a particular welcome to all the students who are viewing us today and who are taking part in the 2021 KSA's Kitchen Design project. We've asked Wesley and Ndiwe from Blum, South Africa to join us, and they're going to help us out by giving a little bit of information about modern considerations for design and for kitchen planning. I know Wesley didn't want me to mention kitchen specifically, but we are focusing on kitchens for the students and how to bring ergonomics into the modern era of kitchen design. So I'm going to hand over to Wesley, and while he's talking, the rest of us are going to go dark and put our cameras off, and we'll pop back up into view when it's ready for us to talk. Wesley, over to you.
Hi everyone, a warm welcome from myself and Lingiwe of Blum South Africa and of course Blum Global. Blum, just to give you an idea, Blum South Africa, Blum Global is obviously a global company, one of the top manufacturers of cabinet hardware, being hinges, runners, pull-out systems and lift systems in the world, with an employee base of over 8,000 employees around the globe. We just here to chat to you today about ergonomics as it pertains to workflow and space considerations and the motion of the products. So I'm sure you've heard the term ergonomics used in many aspects of design, and workflow is very important. Something can look fantastic, but it doesn't necessarily flow. So taking into consideration with this, it's very important when you accept your client's brief. To illustrate this, we've got a short little video, which we call workflow, which I will show to you right now.
Practical kitchens always depend upon simple workflows. Workflows have to flow. You need to consider your daily kitchen routines, because you actually do the same things day after day. And that's why we've invited a Blum specialist to show us all the ways good kitchen equipment can make life easier.
Hi, gladly.
Why were you so fast?
It's really quite simple. I've got everything exactly where I need it, and within easy reach. Do you remember this?
Yeah, it was pretty difficult to get out the bowl.
It's a lot easier with pull-outs. They're not only ergonomic. Inner dividing systems keep contents organized and easy to find.
And what about wall cabinets?
Lift systems give you clear visibility and easy access. Nothing's in your way.
Sounds sensible. And now that I've got easy access to everything, what can I do to make sure that everything's exactly where I need it?
The best thing that you can do is think through your daily routines. Where is your main worktop? Is it big enough? Is it at least 90 centimeters wide? You need enough space for knives, bowls, chopping boards, etc. That's how you can divide a kitchen into zones.
What do you mean by zones?
That's Blum's name for functional areas. We call them consumables, non-consumables, cleaning, preparation, and cooking.
Uh-huh. So dividing a kitchen into zones saves both energy and time.
Right.
That's quite a lot to consider if you want good workflows.
The easiest way to get good workflows is to think about what activities you do most in a kitchen. When you're planning your kitchen, make sure that you can keep everything exactly where it's needed. And for easy access, use pull-outs, lift systems, and practical inner dividers.
Right, so as you can see from the workflow, it's very imperative to consider all aspects, including the storage usage, which we'll get to in a moment. By now, you'll probably have heard of the working triangle, which links the sink, the refrigerator, and oven. However, in a modern home, there's far more aspects to consider than just those three. Hence, the 5 zones that we've mentioned: consumables, non-consumables, preparation, cleaning, and cooking, respectively. Once you've had a look at these zones and determined what fits where, you can then optimize these further with simple considerations. Least used items placed at the topmost and the lowest most storage areas, bringing items progressively closer to your work surface area the more often they are used. So daily use items would be at the topmost drawer or the bottommost shelf of your wall unit. Considering your client's specific physical needs now and into the future is just as important. At Blum, we make use of the Age Explorer suite. This helps us establish optimal function for all users. I'll show you a short clip now of the Age Explorer suite in use and in a proper practical application.
They've designed a suit specific for us, for the kitchen industry, which simulates various things. And it took 4 years to create, along with geriatric doctors. So we use this suit to test our existing products, but also to test and to come up with new innovative products. We realized that people that were buying kitchens today, it may very well be their last kitchen. So we need to know today what people's needs will be tomorrow. There's some straps that simulates joint restriction, the range of motion restriction. It does simulate arthritis. There's special gloves that simulate that. The longer you wear the gloves, the more you will lose feeling in your fingertips. Weights that are put throughout the suit, which simulates loss of muscle mass. And there's special stitching and darting in the actual suit itself, and that simulates range of motion restriction. It impairs peripheral vision, impairs sight, impairs hearing, and color distinction becomes quite difficult as well.
Well, first of all, you get to put it on and you realize, you know, you're quickly losing your ability to do a lot of things. And the one thing that really caught my attention was right off the hop, can you raise your hands over your head? And just, you know, through age or disability, you find that, well, I can only go here now. I can't reach the stuff that's up there. And you quickly learn, yeah, there's a lot of limitations in aging or any sort of, you know, limitations that you might have in your abilities. My wife has a disability, so you start to, you know, put her in the back of your head of, you know, what would work for her, what would work in our kitchen, and you start finding, yeah, there's quick access things that would work really well for her. It's always easier to understand once you've walked a mile in someone's shoes, right? And this is a great opportunity to do that because you can imagine, and even for me, I mean, I live at home with my wife all the time. I have no idea what she goes through on a daily basis, just trying to, you know, wash dishes or unload a dishwasher. This gives you the opportunity to at least sort of get that idea and realize that, you know, there's a whole lot more to it, and any sort of innovation or idea that'll improve that gives them that energy to do other things later in the day rather than being exhausted at the end of the day.
I just think this is awesome that Decor brought this in and made others, helping making other people aware that it can be difficult to maneuver, and understanding that they can help make people feel more comfortable in their space. I think it's awesome.
So with that video, you can see now the importance of workflow and how the effect can be when you get older, the restriction in range of motion, etc. To impact on this and to improve on this, we can also use creative storage solutions, such as Blum has developed. And this is greatly beneficial in improving the workflow for both young and old. Speaking of the creative storage solutions, I'll be handing over to my colleague Lingiwe, who will tell you more about our storage concept and those solutions now. Lingiwe.
Thank you so much, Wesley. Hi, everybody. My name is Lingiwe. We'll just be touching a little bit on optimal space. This is where now you need to consider this kitchen should not only look good, but it should also be practical and it needs to work for you. So a kitchen needs to be fit for everyday use. So this is now where you'll be having a proper workflow, optimal space, as well as a good motion technology. So storage space depends on cooking habits, shopping habits, as well as lifestyle. So if you're a person that cooks a lot with those special cooking utensils like your poiki pots, your Jamie Oliver pans, or slow cookers, then these are the things you need to consider making provision for. This is now where you can always think of using deeper drawers for all those things that you're going to need, as well as if you are a person that shops for a big family, or perhaps you like to buy in bulk, then you need to consider a storage space where it can accommodate all of those things. So this is where now you're going to think of perhaps using a wide space tower, which goes up to 1.2, and the load bearing on the runner itself on its own is like 70 kgs. So it carries quite a load on there. And perhaps you're a person that likes to host a lot or entertain guests. So this is perhaps maybe you having a lot of crockery, a lot of cutleries there, or glasses. Then you can think of using deeper drawers as well to accommodate for all the crockery that you might be having there, and as well as consider having your Aventus lift up systems. So the Aventus lift up systems can go up to 1.8 or 1.2 wide, depending on the system that you'll be using, and it moves away from you, so it's easy to gain access to the stuff that you need. It is important to make the most of the space that you have available. So consider depth, consider length. This is where this would help you to make more of the space that you have in your kitchen. So I'm just gonna ask Wesley to put a video for us that explains more about optimal space in a few minutes.
Space. There's nothing a practical kitchen needs more than enough space. And there's nothing worse than finding you don't have enough space for everything when you first move into your new kitchen. It's a problem that our Blum specialist knows well.
This happens to a lot of people. Most people wish they had more space.
But surely storage space needs differ according to the user, right?
Yes, there can be very different requirements. It depends on your lifestyle, cooking and shopping habits, and whether you've got a big family. If you don't cook often or have little space, you'll opt for the narrow spice pull-out.
Ah, the owner of the left pull-out for pots and pans obviously enjoys cooking. And this wide unit for crockery is ideal for big families.
It's important to think about these things before you buy your kitchen.
So let's say I know exactly how much storage space I need, but I can't change the size of my kitchen. What tricks are there to make optimal use of the space available?
It's actually quite easy to create more storage space without changing the size of the room. The balls show me how much storage space there is.
Quite a lot goes in these drawers.
Yes, but instead of two narrow ones, I could use a wide pull-out. That gives us even more space.
Can you do more?
Yes, I can. Here we have a standard pull-out with a gallery. By comparison, a high pull-out with closed side panels. Everything's held in place, and what's more, we create extra storage space. This is a standard drawer. If you've got enough space, you can use drawers with greater depth. This will give you a lot more storage space.
Interesting. So a few changes to height, depth and width create extra space.
But you can also create new storage space. Clever solutions like this give you storage space you didn't have before.
Not bad. You're using every inch of storage space.
There are also practical cabinets for corners and for provisions. So think about what you want to keep in your kitchen, how much storage space you need, and tell your kitchen consultant. Create extra storage space with higher and wider pullouts, and possibly with pullouts with greater depth. And don't forget the special solutions. That's what really makes a big difference.
Thank you for that. Okay, as we've seen in the video, so there's various ways in which you can create more storage for yourself in the house. So should you be looking for more storage and you can't really change the size of your kitchen, there's a few things that you might consider, as we've seen on the video there, where you'll be looking at your corner unit system. This is mostly a place where people struggle. They don't really know what to do with their corners, but now you can have the corner drawers, which pulls out, and you gain easy access to the stuff that is in there. You can also use your full extension drawer runners instead of perhaps the single extension drawer. So the full extension drawer gives you greater depth, and this now can also give you at least 30% more storage. You could also consider having deeper drawers with the solid sides instead of having the shallow drawers, maybe with the gallery. So now this would create more space for you, at least about 55% more storage space. You're looking at having wide drawers instead of your single narrow drawers. And then this would also give you more space. You're creating a space of like 15% more. You could also consider having your inner drawers. Inner drawers are beautiful because now you don't have to change the front of your door, or you can still remain with the pattern that you have of your kitchen, but still have more storage and have a drawer within a drawer, which works beautifully. Under the zinc, you can also consider having a drawer pull out, U-shape, we call it the U-shape, where you can put all your detergents and your sponges and all the things that you need for your cleaning section. So it's all those things that create space for you. So it's a wide range of things. So we can move to motion now. Here.
Hi folks, just to chat to you quickly before we get into the video on the motion.
Thank you.
Blum's motion technology is developed with the lowest amount of resistance when you have to open the drawers. This allows for older people who have less grip strength to be able to open the drawers easily. We also have optimized systems such as our servo drive, which is an electronic touch to open system. We have recently launched the tip-on Blue Motion, which is a touch open, soft close mechanical system. We have beneficial systems for the Aventos, our lift up range, which is also powered by servo drive. There's also a servo drive flex, which allows you to make integrated fridges and dishwashers touch to open as well, which obviously is beneficial because an integrated fridge can have a very strong resistance when you want to open it. So as you get older, it becomes harder to open. So there's also, as Linguia has mentioned, there's other products we have like the Space Step, which optimizes storage. It gives you an additional storage area in your kickplate area. We have a pull-out shelf lock, which we've recently launched, which can create an additional work surface area, possibly even in a home office area. It can be multifunctional as well. So there's a number of solutions, and I do suggest visiting Blum's website, www.blum.com, to keep up abreast of latest developments in our products. And for designers specifically, we have blum-inspirations.com, which has a large selection of videos of various applications in real life and a couple of interesting topics that they've discussed pertaining to design. As to motion, Blum has a lifetime mechanical warranty on all its products, bar electronic components, which are 5 years, which is still substantial for electronic components. Statistically speaking, sorry, stumbled there. Our hinge systems have a 200,000 cycle life cycle. Runner systems are 100,000 cycles, and lift systems are 80,000 cycles. To put that in perspective for hinges, if you were to open a cupboard door 10 times a day, every single day, you would still last about 50 years on those hinges. They are tested in Blum's testing facilities to death, literally. They get tested till they break. And it far exceeds the German testing standards for lifetime warranty. So they are exceptional quality, and you can see that in the motion, which I am now going to share with you on the screen.
Motion. Ease of use and top quality motion. For Blum, these are important features of a practical kitchen. All motions should be light and comfortable. So what's important here?
Design and surface finishes are not the only things that make a kitchen enjoyable to be in. The details are often an important feel-good factor. The way in which furniture can be opened and closed. There's motion, and then there's motion.
And what do you mean by that?
Pull-outs, for example, are opened a lot every day. Normally they're heavily laden. So it's really important that they're stable and have a feather-like glide. Our runners can easily take up to 65 kilograms and still have a really smooth running action. The soft close feature makes furniture really easy to use too. For many, it's already a standard feature of kitchens.
Smooth motion, soft close, but what can you tell us about opening?
Well, opening should be easy too. Just touch the front, anywhere.
That's great.
This is our servo drive electric opening system. Pull-outs just glide open at a single touch. It's also available for lift systems. Even heavy fronts open with ease, and they close again at the press of a switch.
So fronts are always within reach. Now that's practical. There really are lots of things to consider.
You're right. And that's why we recommend you try out the feel of your furniture when you buy a new kitchen. Open, close, slide, then decide. Be open to new technologies which bring enhanced user convenience.
And most important of all, make your choice according to what feels best to you.
Right, so that gives you an overview of the motions. An addendum to that video was made before we launched our new system, which does have a 70 kilogram carrying capacity, which is the Legrobox system. But yes, our motions are smooth. I love the line there, open, close, slide, then decide. It is very, very evident when you use a inferior quality product versus a top quality product, you can immediately tell the difference. And the longevity of how long they will last is very evident right from the outset. So other than that, I have wrapped it up. Lingiwe, is there anything you'd like to add?
Thanks, Wesley. I think you've covered most of the stuff in terms of motion, where you explain about the servo drive, how it opens with a single touch and it closes softly, and your Blum motion and all the stuff. I would also like to mention the Aventus system as well, which is a beautiful system because now it moves away from your face and it stays wherever you want it to stay, so it doesn't shoot up and then they are trying to close the door. So it works beautifully, and it is also soft closing as well. So those are the stuff, and no fuss on our motion technology. Thanks.
Perfect. I think I'll just add one last thing as well, is that we have a free facility available for all, which is on the Blum website called e-services. You're welcome to register for free. It gives you access to technical drawings, gives you access to all brochures and imagery of all the products, and it's completely free. So please log on to www.blum.com and register for the e-services to access those facilities. Thank you. Back to Stephanie and the team.
Thanks, guys. That was fantastic. I'm sure Karen and I have managed to jot down a few questions that we're sure people will have, which all popped into people's minds while they've been listening. I'm going to start off with my first one, is that obviously there are different types of hardware that you can get on the South African market, varying in price and quality. How important is it to consider the price and quality when you're planning for the longevity of a kitchen?
Well, I think personally that, look, the old adage is you get what you pay for. And in my experience, in almost 20 years in this industry, I've seen plenty of more inexpensive products come and go. They don't generally stick around, which means the after-sale service is not there. There's no support for the products should there be a failure down the line. Whereas with a product like Blum, which has been going for over 50 years, we will always be there to support the product. I've had instances where someone has called me where they've had their kitchen in for 25 years and a hinge has happened to deteriorate due to whatever reason, be it poor installation or it's just overuse. And we've gone out and replaced the hinge at no charge because it falls under warranty. So that is the kind of thing you won't get from a more inexpensive product. And it's the stability, I think, of it that is really important. And
with hardware being so important to sort of the storage space and planning of a kitchen, when looking at having your budget amount, when a consumer is sitting with their budget, how much should the kitchen designer allocate to a spend on hardware out of the total budget? What would be recommended?
Well, our market research around the world has been that in general, the budget for an entire kitchen project should be 10 to 15% the value of the home. That doesn't account for appliances, because we know appliances can be a variable that goes all over the land. But it does ring true no matter which market you're in. Hardware will dictate that because it is a large part of the kitchen. The actual cabinetry itself is inexpensive. Your countertops are becoming more and more cost effective. Your doors and your hardware are where most of your expense ends up going in the kitchen. So I would say easy 30%, 40% of the kitchen cost would probably go to hardware. It is possible. Blum does have ranges that can go from entry right up to high end. So it's not impossible to have quality in virtually any budget, but it is important that the end user and designers have realistic expectations of costings. The days of doing a kitchen for 20,000 Rand are long gone. It's not happening. Not that it's impossible to do, you just don't want it, because it will fall apart in a very short space of time, because it will be inferior quality board, it will be inferior quality everything. So yes, you won't buy a cheap car because you know it's not going to last. So, and as has been pointed out in the videos, and as it'll always be pointed out, a kitchen is a big investment for most people. If you're gonna get something you want, rather make that funding available to get something that's going to give you joy, spark joy going forward for many years, because you don't want to have that investment and 3 months down the line the kitchen design looks fantastic, but you realize that it doesn't actually flow to what you need, or it doesn't function to what you need. There's a large misunderstanding with regards to hardware, specifically when it comes to drawer runners. As an example, on the load bearing capacity, most manufacturers will not be transparent. They'll tell you it takes 50 kilograms, but it's dynamic load bearing. As with ours as well, it's also dynamic load bearing. What that means is that it's the weight of the drawer itself as well as what's in it. So while a drawer can take 70 kilograms for our Allegra box, if it's 1.4 meters wide the drawer box itself with the front is already going to weigh about 10 kilograms. So you can't put 70 kilograms into the drawer, you're going to put 60 in. So that has to also be taken into consideration. And that whether you use the most entry-level runner or you use the most expensive runner, that value stays true. So it is important for people to understand the terms and make sure they get clear explanations from their designers, from their manufacturers, as to what they are using and why they are using it. That's why with the KSA, we try and tell the guys to, when they do their quotes, they must be transparent with their quotes. Don't just say hardware is X amount, try and be transparent with what you're using. And it's important because if the clients don't know what they're getting and they're getting fleeced and they end up with absolute rubbish, unfortunately. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Kieran, do you have some questions?
I do, yes. So my first one I want to direct at Hlengiwe. When we were talking about the wider drawers, and maybe Wesley's kind of touched on this now, does it impair the functionality if you're going for a wider drawer? Does it impair the functionality of the runner, or do you need to keep anything specific in mind?
Okay, thank you for that question. So yes, as Wesley has mentioned there, that actually if the runner is carrying 70 kgs perhaps, then the actual box would be, or if it's wider, like for 1 meter, then the actual box would be contributing 10% towards that. So now, which is better for you, instead of, if you know that to use the 70 kgs, then much rather have it be 60 kgs or 50 kgs or whatever that you be having in there. But otherwise, the motion of the drawers, it functions well. If it's 70 kgs, you know that you're gonna get the best of the function from that. When it's soft closing, it still works in a proper way, as long as it's being used properly according to the specs.
What I can also add to that, Karen, just to help from a technical side, Blum also provides what we call a stabilizer, which you can add in on wider drawers, specifically in our box systems, Lego box, tandem box, and our undermount, the tandem and the Movento runners. This is a separate bar that is mounted, which the client will never actually see. It gets mounted at the back of the drawer and creates it's almost like a torsion bar. It creates a bit of rigidity. Because obviously the wider you get with the drawers, the more sway you get when you pull the drawers open, especially if you try and pull on one corner instead of centrally. This helps to reduce that. You'll never get rid of it completely because drawers inherently have sway, just the nature of the beast. But these stabilizers are available for wider drawers, which we do suggest for wider drawers, especially when you get to 1 meter, 1.2, 1.4. The maximum width we can do with our drawers currently is 1.4 meters wide, or 1400 millimeters, which is with the Lego box and the Movento. That said, it is possible to actually make a drawer front wider than 1.4 by combining 2 drawer boxes with 1 front. So you'd have 2 carcasses, 2 drawers, 1 front across it. This has been done in a couple of applications overseas. No one's really used it in South Africa as yet that I know of, but it is something that is possible. And then you obviously can double up. If you use 2 sets of 70 kilograms, you've now split that load. So that's another way of improving rigidity and things like that. But yes, there's many ways to skin a cat. It just takes some creative designers to think outside the box.
Okay, and I think just staying with Wesley while you're there, it's a twofold question.
100%.
Cutlery and utensils, would you put those in the same zone, or would you separate them? And then secondly, in a bigger kitchen setting, is it possible to have multiple zones? So like multiple cooking zones, or multiple prep, or multiple storage, that kind of thing?
100%. Yeah, this is a question we get quite often. This is where it comes to discussing with your client what their routines are. So I would suggest your consumables, your non-consumables area, where you keep your crockery, that would be where you would keep your knives and forks. You would have your utensils would be probably in your cooking area or your prep area, because you wouldn't use your butcher's knife when you're going to eat dinner. You're going to use a butcher's knife when you're chopping and preparing food. So it should be in your prep area and your cooking area, which are normally quite close to each other. So yeah, on that side, I would split them up into the different zones as they are going to be used. You might have a coffee station, so you would have a little drawer with teaspoons kept there because that's where you're going to do your coffee. You don't need them elsewhere possibly. With respect to multiple zones, yes, especially in the South African market, it's become very common. Overseas, the kitchens are generally a bit smaller, especially in Europe. Size-wise, it's historical buildings, they're a little bit smaller, so they don't really have the same style of living that we do. But it is becoming more so all over the world. But yes, we do find that you'll have multiple zones. So you might have your island, for example, zoned on its own. So you'd have your prep bowl, which counts as a cleaning area as well as a preparation area. So it's kind of a cross purpose. You'd have a prep zone where you would keep your chopping boards and your spices possibly, and you'd have your cooking area because you'd have your hob there. So you would have your pots and pans kept underneath there, and maybe your spatulas and utensils you would use with cooking on the hob would be kept there. And then on the wall, you'd probably have an eye-level oven with a microwave, maybe some pot drawers below that where you can keep your casserole dishes and your microwave dishes will be kept there. So they would be two separate cooking zones, but with the correct layout to improve workflow, there should be a natural transition. It shouldn't be hob in the center of the island and the ovens on the absolute other end of the kitchen. They should try and have some kind of flow that they are within reach of each other. Because, you know, if you watch Jamie and those chefs, then sometimes they'll start on the stove top and it ends up going straight into the oven. So you want to have that flow.
Okay, and then just a last one, which I'd like each of you to answer. Do you have a favorite space-saving unit or accessory that you would recommend that you cannot live without? So if a designer comes to you and you say, there's one thing you have to incorporate in your design, this is it. Which would you choose? If each of you could give your answers to that.
I'll let Lingiwe go first on this one.
Okay, yeah. Let me see. I would say for me, it would be the space tower. A lot of times when my clients come in the showroom, that's actually the first thing that I just run to because it's so exciting to show, and it's just beautiful. It works beautifully. It's a pull out, so it's individual pull out drawers. You get it in different looks. You can get it in a leg wrap box free with the glass on the sides as well as the front, or you can get it in a tandem box, which you can get it as solid or with the gallery on the side. So now this gives you easy access to your groceries and even vision when you want to pull out get something from the drawers. Then it's easy to see from either side, even at the front, even at the top as well. So when you pull it out, you can see what's going on there. Everything is in its place, and you can also get those little dividers for like the auger line for if you're using the tandem box, or you can get those frames if you're using the leg wrap box system, which organizes the whole thing. So it's just it works beautifully, and it's different sizes depending on the space that you have. So you can go as small as 300, as wide as 1.2. So it would depend on your space or how your shopping habits as well. So it's just a breeze to have. I wish I could have a space tower at my house as well. Unfortunately, I don't have. But yeah, it just works beautifully. It's wonderful to use.
Thanks, yeah, my side, I would say, obviously, the first thing I would say is I would have everything should be used. All the solutions I would have. They're all my favorites. It is difficult to pin down one. I would definitely say the space tower is probably the most popular, and it definitely is one of the biggest space savers in a kitchen that I've seen compared to all the other solutions out there. But I actually like the corner drawer. Our space corner, for me, I despise a corner unit in a kitchen. I've got bad knees. So every time I have to get something out of a corner cupboard, it takes me about half an hour to get back up after getting down to go and climb into the corner there. And you always end up, you know, every time I've moved house, I've found Tupperware lids that I lost 10 years ago, and then I find them again when I unpack the corner cupboard. So for me, the space corner is a very, very fun little corner solution that I really enjoy. But yeah, actually, it's all the solutions from Blum for me are still, I can't really put one above the other. For me, they're all fantastic. They should all be used all the time.
Thanks, Wesley. Yeah, so I think to bring to a close, I just wanted to kind of sum up and make an observation. Just when listening to the two of you talk and listening to the video content, that to optimize ergonomics and your storage and your flow of your kitchen, how important getting the information, the correct information out of the customer is. And for me, just saying directly to any consumers who watch this video, you cannot sit back and leave it all to your kitchen designer. You must take the time to do your share of the work. Sit and dissect and write down for them how you live, how you like to entertain, how you like to eat. Measure up those big Le Creuset pans and let your kitchen designer have that information. I mean, the most successful kitchen design I've ever seen was of a friend of mine who took 21 years thinking of how she wanted her dream kitchen to work. And she utilized a KSA member in the end. And she went to him with this huge book full of information and exactly an understanding of, this is how I want my dog food to be stored. And I want my bread maker to be stored away and to be able to come and pull out of a drawer and still be able to operate on that drawer while it's baking bread. And she'd given so much thought to it that her dream kitchen was a reality. But in return, saying to the kitchen designers that are out there, if the client comes to you and doesn't know how to put that brief out there to you or hasn't done that work, don't just go, okay, fine, I'll slot in 4 cupboards, 4 drawers and a couple of handles and here you go, hey presto, and then be surprised that the client's dissatisfied with your work. You need to then take the time to sit and pull that information out of them, because ultimately the kitchen designer is the expert. So if the client hasn't done the homework, it's your job to do the homework with them and get that information. But yeah, I think fantastic information in there for us, and very, very helpful to the students who are taking part in our project. So a huge thank you to you both. And yes, I'm sure we'll have more questions coming from the students based on this in the future. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you both very much. Thank you to the KSA for having us.
Thank you so much.